going to be New Year's Eve next week, and I thought, having come off of a not so bad Christmas Eve Gluttony Eve dinner, I thought that I would give you guys inspiration to get ready for 2020. So the up there, I'm not sure if you can see that, up there is a little bit of an elevation. Oh wow, that's a nice sunset. So here's what I propose, and I'm going to have more details revealed at my Ignite Your Life Summit. That's going to be held January 11th at the Advocate Sherman Hospital, 2:30 to 4:30. So I'll put a link down below. But for the purposes of this video, it has been a mild winter, if anything. And I mean, it's sunset now. It's getting cold. As soon as the sun drops, it usually drops temperature in the shade on a summer day. It'll drop temperature by 10 degrees. Here, the temperature will plummet to 20 degrees. So it's probably, with my fingers being cold, it's probably getting to about 40 degrees now. There's a little bit of a wind, so it'll make it a tiny bit colder. So the idea is to start a new activity that will keep you engaged and easily sustainable for a while. A while can be 3 months, 1 season, or a year. But regardless, if you're watching this, then either you're a patient of mine or you're interested in lifestyle change. And the coaches that are out there, in fact 6 of the coaches that are coming to the Ignite Your Life Summit, have varied approaches to lifestyle change. Me too. And I'm not saying there's one better than another. This is not a competition. It's just to open up the paradigm for you all, because there's not one formula that's built for everybody. And I'm writing a book called Running Behind, due out 2020, but it's going to hallmark how my life, as far as the encounters I've had with some great people, inspirations for me to change, and when I change, then I can adopt that to other patients or folks that come to see me for their changes. So if I can get somebody to divulge to me who they are, I can probably figure out a plan, or at least lay a plan together to attempt to change. Obviously, if you have extra pounds, that's easy to find, and sometimes once you find it, you have the answer. Really, if your disease is food allergy, you stop your food, certain foods. If the issue is knee pain, change the activity. If the issue is a snoring spouse, earplugs. So there should be another way around it versus just dealing with the snoring spouse, the diarrhea and bloating with food. So obviously, in its worst presentation, if you're dealing with cancer, you can't just cut the cancer out. I know a lot of my surgeons will say that, but I think there's other things to do. Now, hopefully, lifestyle change will get you to the point where you don't get intercepted in late life with that disease in its worst presentation. This is really nice sunset. So sorry, I'm enthralled by nature. The idea would be to try to change a little bit at a time earlier on. So we made it to, by the way, we made it to the top of this little bit of a hill, and I'm not sure if I'm a little bit short of breath because of the speech or just talking into the camera, or if it was because of the incline, but there's a little bit of a decline now. You can see it and witness down there. So this is a little bit of a peak, but in Bartlett there's not that many places to get an elevation. There's Mount Hoy in Blackwell, there's a steps or staircase in Swallow Cliff. That's about it. So how do you train for 14,000 feet? Well, number one, you have to have a goal. I'm giving you the goal. In August 20, specifically the 28th, I'm attempting to go back and hit Gray's and Torrey's Peak. That's 14,040 feet or something like that. I just remember that I hit the wall at about 14,004 feet. I can see the top. There's an old mangy goat that was in the way. I took a side trail by myself, but I couldn't go any further. I was hitting the wall. Even lifting my foot a little bit off of the ground caused severe cramping, and I wasn't dehydrated. I was just hitting the wall. Lactic acid was probably built up. Unfortunately, I didn't train, and just like the marathon, didn't train for that either, but I made it. So I think that what I'm trying to prove is just that I could do things. It's empowering to be able to have accomplished stuff that other humans have done, but it's a very limited number. So that's why I want you guys to experience the same thing. You don't have to. Life can be boring, and life scheduling can be so enthralling, or at least consuming, that it's easy to say, I don't want to do that, I'm just gonna go home and have a beer. But I think that's what puts us into the predicament where the medical community is very busy. It's very busy because patients are suffering silently, and they're also suffering out loud. So I don't think the medical community is doing a great job with the majority of patients. For the, say, 10% that really need disease, it's life-saving. Motor vehicle accident, big tumors. I think it's important to risks with delivering children or babies. I think it's very important to embrace what Western medicine has. But on the flip side, the other 90%, I really think is preventable disease. High blood pressure, I always talk about this all the time. So high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, arthritis, even depression, I believe is preventable. The only problem is selling people that aren't feeling anything. So it's so easy for doctors to say, here's the algorithm, you must, or the protocol, you must, since we have your weight as it is, or your blood test results as they are, you must follow the protocol and treat. And the treatment would be medicines or surgery. And if you don't do that, your doctor will say you're non-compliant and he'll divorce you. And that's the way it usually works. Or another thing I've seen with primary care, if you don't follow through, then usually they'll make referrals to other doctors and then get you out of their hair. In the emergency room, it's considered a gomer. Get out of my emergency room, when people just come in and all they want is medicines or painkillers. And that's evolving now in the last 5 to 10 years too. So, but again, I think it's our fault. Yeah, it's everybody's fault, pharmaceutical really, but I think it's our fault because that's all we suggest and subscribe or prescribe is that. A temporary band-aid in the form of pharmaceuticals are, again, they're good. Some surgeries are good, but not if that's the only thing. I really think you have to make the lifestyle change. If you're too far gone, I still say there's lifestyle changes that can be benefited from. Just want to take a pause here. So to give you the cinematography view, this is what I'm seeing. We're in the pathway of O'Hare Airport, and sometimes you'll hear planes every 5 minutes in the distance, so there's a little bit of a lull. I'm sure there's an animal out here somewhere staring at me. Coyotes are around, but they're innocent. So I should head back. I'm going to tackle this hill again. So not to get it off on a tangent, but the bottom line is, if you've fallen into the tracks of just seeing a doctor that's going to prescribe medicines, and all that's all you get is a visit to tell you that you have another medical problem or another blood test is abnormal, and you get another pill. I think the writing is in the wind. If you have persistent new medicines that are always given, then take the medicines because they're probably helpful. But outside of that, find your coach, find your groove, find your track, find your trail, and get on it and try to make that lifestyle change. And yeah, it's going to be hard. It's painful. I mean, I usually fast from, well, I don't eat. The only time I eat is from 12 to 8, 12 noon to 8 p.m. And sometimes I'll go off that a little bit, but I've found that's my groove. And I'm vegetarian. I'm vegan, actually. But I sometimes waffle with what I call myself. However, at this point in time, 57 going on 58 in 2020, this is serving me because I just expect a shitload of crap coming my way. And that's okay, but at least I try to forecast that with the genes and the stress of work. But I'm doing what I can, and if I didn't do what I'm doing now as far as eating, exercise, calming practice, meditation, walks in nature, and then I was hit with that crap that's coming, I would probably say I should have. Let me start at the last minute, which is always a good endeavor too, but the later you start, the tougher the road. So you don't have to do what I do, but you just have to move. This formula is working for me, and it might work for you. Most of my suggestions on my YouTube page, I've actually participated in myself. So I can say wholeheartedly that I have a couple diseases. I've controlled them. You don't have to have the same things, but I think there's always going to be a groove for you. Now, if you don't agree with my way, I can still design stuff outside the box. Again, it's a matter of figuring out which questions to ask, extract the information from you, and then put together in somewhat of a design, personal design, a way out. And the way out is suffering. And if you're not suffering, be a way out of the direction you're headed. And if it's not explained to you, then it should be. So I remember going to a lawyer's office, having them sign a real estate deal of some sort, and one of the assistants was morbidly obese, probably about 400 pounds, and she was trying to squeeze by behind me and my wife. And somehow in the back of my mind, I heard her say she just had an office visit with a doctor, and the doctor said everything was good, see you next year. And I'm thinking, what the heck is that doctor telling her? What kind of advice? He probably looked at her diabetes blood test and her cholesterol blood test, maybe said everything was good, and I don't know the whole story. Maybe she was 500 pounds before, now she's 400, so she's in the right direction. But judging from her shortness of breath, her altered gait, probably had a knee issue, she's gonna be a diabetic sooner or later. I hate to force that on anybody, but if I was to look at that individual and say, how can I help her, which I always do, I would try to design something as far as a really easy introduction, and walking is an easy introduction. I don't know, I probably covered about a mile, and that's not much, even with this little incline of mine, but it's something. And if you at least get out and have a successful attempt, you'll feel good about yourself. I feel good about myself. You can appreciate the grade going down. This is no way going to be anything like 14,000 feet, but I'll do another video tomorrow about how to train for that kind of elevation, because it takes a little bit of lactic acid tolerance, and you can't do it here unless you're really strapped with heavy equipment, which is an option, or you're doing faster bursts. Either way, my suggestion is to start walking. If you already walk, or if you don't walk, make it 10 minutes away from your front door, 10 minutes back, 3 days a week, maybe an hour on the weekend. That's it. You pick it, you clothe up yourself, or at least get some protective gear for now, it would probably be a good idea to have a headlamp. I don't think I need protection as far as tear gas or firearm, but not around here anyway, but in Colorado you might. And then communication. So if you already walk, find a place, walk more intently. I don't think walking an hour, I mean, it's leisurely, but it's just in our present time schedules, an hour of time is, if I do that 3 days a week, that's 3 hours a week, plus maybe an extra 3 hours on the weekend. That's a lot of time to carve out of somebody's already precious schedule. So I make it short and sweet. Now, the 15 minutes or 20 minutes up and back, 15 minutes of activity I do 3 days a week and 60 on the weekend is intense. So this is nothing of an intense. This is just me filming, but I thought I'd kill two birds with one stone, and it was a nice sunset. However, if you can get to that attainment, cool. If you already run, if you're a marathoner, hit an incline. If you're a marathoner, throw on a backpack and hiking and go slower but more intently. If you're a swimmer, cross train. If you're in the gym with HIIT training, do yoga. So whatever you're doing, add to it in a different form, become well-rounded, and it's more local airplane. And that way you can adapt. I think there's a couple of basics that every human should do: squatting, kneeling, jumping, one-leg stands. I think that we should be able to run. When you are not able to do those things, then we take care of the medical disease that's prohibiting that, and then we push farther or harder. So there's always going to be a physical therapist or a personal trainer around. We're planning to do the Shamrock Shuffle with a man that has essentially a withered leg and missing a leg on the other side. That's my patient Eddie, hit and run victim. We did the Shamrock Shuffle together last year. This time he's gonna walk it, and I'll be so proud of him for doing that. But I just do this for you guys. I do this for him because he inspires me, and it's nice to see somebody come back without giving up. And I'm getting so many patients that come in totally exhausted from the medical the merry-go-round and not getting anywhere in life and still suffering. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and that's why I love what I do. So this is just one way. If you're thinking about going with me to Colorado, get training. I'll announce on the Ignite Your Life conference summit, January 11th, about more details about preparing yourself for the hike. I have about 3 guys that are well trained already. They might act as sweepers, or my group will be aggressively attacking the summit. But you don't have to do that. We'll have a breakup, essentially a shotgun start. We might all meet in the beginning to say blessings and just start what we can do, and then everybody has their own summit that they can get to. You don't have to get to the top. It's just getting there and being with other people that are like-minded, that want to make a change. And this is what we have to do. We have to ignite your life so you can change your way and direction of where you're going. So hopefully this gives you, sorry for the delay. My YouTube tutorials are always long, but I appreciate you lasting until this point. If you have any comments on what you do to train for high altitude or a summit of sorts, please put them down below. Or you know what? Put your summits. If it was a marathon, if it was a 100-miler, if it was swimming 2 miles, if it was powerlifting, if it was winning in a martial arts tournament, I'd like to hear about it. I dare you to put them down below. Mine was bodybuilding, 1982, and winning 2 titles. That's probably the highlight. You know, 2 marathons, I ran, walk, and the 14,000 feet, that's okay, but it's still in my heart as a bodybuilder that I won those things. And that was last minute too. I just trained down at Wildwood Beach at some gym, and I got fine-tuned. And you know what? I was taught by the owners of Attila's Gym and by a professional bodybuilder that was there. He took the time to teach me how to pose, took the time how to teach me how to lift, I really appreciate him. I never saw him again. And the guys that own the Tillis, I'm not sure what's going on with them, but that was a definite diversion in life that put me to where I am now. Hopefully I'll put you into the same. So signing off. Please subscribe to me down below. Otherwise I'll see you at the next tutorial.